We're on lesson 7. Hello everybody. We're going to solve inequalities by multiplication and division, but we're also going to take a look at what happens when those numbers are negative. So I've completed the first two for you. I'm going to talk through those, and then we're going to take a look at what to do when they're negative numbers. So we've already reviewed multiplication inequality. So we know this is multiplication because a number and a letter together mean multiply. So 8x is less than or equal than 40. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we divide both sides by 8. That way we get the variable alone on one side of the inequality. So I have x is less than or equal to 5. So another reminder, when you are graphing this, I started with my 5 in the middle when I made my number line. That way I can see that there's some greater and some less. It's a closed dot because of that equal, less than or equal. It includes the 5. And then the arrow goes to the left because this arrow is going to the left, which indicates less than. So a lot of tips there that you'll need to remember throughout this lesson. Okay, number 2 is a division problem. We have d divided by 2 is greater than 7. So another reminder that fraction bar means divide. What's the opposite of dividing by 2? Multiplying by 2. So when I multiply 2 by this 2 on the bottom, it wipes out the 2, leaves me the d, and 7 times 2 is 14. d is greater than 14. Remember when you graph it, we have an open dot because there's no equal to. So it's not going to include 14, only the numbers greater than. So the dot, the open dot indicates 14 won't count, but right after 14 might. 14 will. 14 and 100th, 1,000th, 1/10,000ths, all those little numbers between also work for this inequality. Okay, so now let's take a look at our negative numbers. This is where we really have to be careful when we're solving our inequalities today, because if you see a negative number, the inequality symbol must be reversed. That means just change it for the inequality to remain true. So let's take a look at this one. Notice we have negative 2g is less than 10. There's my negative sign, so that shows me right away I better change that inequality symbol. So now I solve it like I normally do. Negative 2g, this means multiply, so the opposite is divide by negative 2. And the other side I would do the same thing, 10 divided by negative 2. So we have to remember how to perform negative operations. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 wipes out, and we have g. And then remember my inequality was reversed. So negative 2 goes into 10 negative 5 times. So remember, a negative times a negative would give me that positive. Or in other words, 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. So let's take a look at how we're going to graph these negatives. I'm going to put negative 5 right in the middle. So that gives me room to show you what's happening on both sides. And I think I'm going to extend this number line out just a little bit to make some room. Okay, here's how I make my graphs, just so you know how I'm organizing these. This first one goes in the middle. I do an end, a middle, and a middle. That gives me at least 2 numbers I can add on there. Okay, so g is greater than negative 5. Already I know it's an open dot. And which direction am I going to go? The arrow's going this way, so I know I'm going to continue my arrow this way. But let's look and see how we're going to number this number line. Okay. So remember, 0 would be way over here. So when we're counting negatives this way, this would be negative 6, negative 7. On the other side is negative 4, negative 3. So they actually are getting greater, right? All right, let's take a look at 4. This is a division problem. x divided by -3 is less than or equal to 4. What does negative tell us to do? Immediately change this. Reverse the sign so you don't forget. All right, now, what do I have to do to both sides of the equal sign? Okay, I'll just work it up there. I have to multiply by 3. And multiply, not just by 3, but by what? -3. Okay, and this one as well, multiply by -3. So these cancel out. I have x left on one side, and 4 times -3 is -12. All right, I am going to graph my -12 right in the middle, and again, make a mark here and a mark here. That gives you room to kind of center the other ones. All right, which numbers would go to the right of -12? They get bigger. -11 is greater than -12. -10 is greater than -12. Any number that goes to the right would be greater than -12. All right, I made a mistake right there because I see that it's greater than or equal to, so I have to close up that dot because it does include -12 as well. I'm going to finish my number line here so you can see the difference in our less than numbers and greater than numbers when they're negative. All right, we're going to move into a word problem because you do need to know how to do those. And I'm going to move to this side. Kathleen's the star of our show today, and she earns $8 per hour working at the zoo. So imagine that. Every hour she works, she gets $8. We're going to write and solve an inequality that can be used to find, what do we need to find? How many hours she must work to earn at least $120. So what is going on in this problem? Let's break it down a little bit. So we do have the amount she earns per hour, which is $8. So if she worked 1 hour, she'd get $8. If she worked 2 hours, she'd get $16, and so on. So what we don't know, the unknown, let's let H be the number of hours that Kathleen's going to work. So I'm going to do 8x. Now this is what's important here, my inequality symbol. She has to earn at least, which means she could earn more than 120. She can earn 120, but she can't earn anything, well she can, but let me write this out this way, okay. So she's got $8 per hour, must be at least 120. So can she make under 120? No. So she needs to make greater than 120, and at least tells us greater than or equal to 120. So I always have to think through these kind of problems, so I would expect you to as well. If you get it really quick and easy, that's wonderful, but process what's happening in order to get these symbols right. All right, now we have our regular inequality. I don't see any negatives, so I don't have to reverse the symbol in this case. So I divide both sides by 8. I get x on one side, and 120 divided by 8 is 15. So this means she must work 15 hours to earn at least $120. So can she work 16 hours? Of course. Can she work 15 and a half hours? Yes. Can she work under 15 hours, 14, to get 120? No. So you guys are going to work on this today. We are getting to the end of the chapter. Have a wonderful day, and contact me if you have any questions at all. Thanks, everyone.